My name's Emily. I'm 28, live in Chicago, and up until a few weeks ago, I thought I had it all together. A decent job, a cozy apartment, and a boyfriend named Jake well, he's Jake. We've been together for 5 years. He's the kind of guy who remembers your favorite coffee order, always holds the door open, and sends you memes when you're having a bad day. He's sweet, dependable, and predictable. Maybe that's where it all started. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making excuses. But let me back up. It all started at this work event. I'm in marketing, and we had this big client dinner at this fancy restaurant downtown. Jake was supposed to come with me, but he had to cancel last minute because of some work thing. I was annoyed, but whatever. I went alone, and that's when I met him. His name's Ryan. He's one of the clients, mid-30s, sharp suit, that kind of effortless charm that makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. We got talking, and it was electric. Like, the kind of conversation where you forget to eat because you're so caught up in what the other person is saying. He was funny, confident, and just different. Different from Jake in every way. I told myself it was harmless. Just flirting. Just a little fun. But then he asked for my number, and I gave it to him. And that's when everything started to spiral. The first text from Ryan came the next morning. It was simple, just a "Good morning, Emily. Had a great time last night." I stared at my phone for a solid minute before replying. I told myself it was just polite. Just being friendly. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. Jake was in the kitchen, making breakfast like he always did. Pancakes, because it was Sunday. He hummed some random tune, completely oblivious to the storm brewing in my head. I sat at the table, my phone face down, trying to act normal. But my heart was racing. Ryan texted again later that day. And the next day. And the day after that. It started with small talk, work, the weather, random jokes. But then it got deeper. He'd ask me about my dreams, my fears, things I hadn't even told Jake. And I found myself opening up to him in a way I hadn't with anyone in years. I told myself it was fine. Jake and I were in a rut, anyway. We hadn't gone on a real date in months. We were more like roommates than partners. But Ryan made me feel alive. He made me feel seen. Then came the first meetup. It wasn't even supposed to be a big deal. Ryan was in the neighborhood and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. Just coffee. That's what I told myself. But when I saw him standing there, all smiles and confidence, I felt this pull I couldn't ignore. We talked for hours. About work, about life, about everything and nothing. And then, as we were saying goodbye, he kissed me. And I didn't stop him. I wish I could say I felt guilty right away. But I didn't. I felt exhilarated. For the first time in years, I felt like I was living, not just going through the motions. But that feeling didn't last long. After that first kiss, things with Ryan escalated quickly. What started as innocent coffee dates turned into late-night drinks, which turned into, well, you can guess. I told myself it was just physical. That it didn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. Meanwhile, Jake was. Jake. Sweet, dependable, oblivious Jake. He'd ask me how my day was, and I'd lie straight to his face. Good, I'd say, while my phone buzzed in my pocket with a text from Ryan. I felt like I was living a double life, and the guilt was starting to eat me alive. But here's the thing about guilt, it doesn't always stop you. Sometimes, it just makes you better at hiding things. I got sneakier. I started deleting texts, making up excuses to stay late at work, and lying to Jake about where I was going. And every time I saw Ryan, I told myself it would be the last time. But it never was. One night, Ryan took me to this rooftop bar overlooking the city. It was one of those places that felt like it was out of a movie. The lights, the music, the way he looked at me, it was intoxicating. We talked about everything that night. His divorce, his dreams of traveling the world, how he felt like he'd been stuck in a rut until he met me. And then he said it. "Emily, I think I'm falling for you." My heart stopped. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to say it back. Part of me wanted to run. But instead, I just kissed him. And in that moment, I forgot about Jake. I forgot about everything. But the guilt always came back. It hit me like a ton of bricks the next morning when I woke up in Ryan's bed. I looked at my phone and saw a text from Jake. "Good morning, babe. Can't wait to see you tonight." I felt sick. What was I doing? Jake didn't deserve this. But every time I tried to end things with Ryan, he'd say something that pulled me back in. "You deserve to be happy, Emily. Jake doesn't understand you like I do." And I believed him. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday. Jake and I were supposed to have dinner together, just the two of us, like old times. But Ryan texted me earlier that day, asking if I wanted to meet up. He said he had something important to tell me. And like an idiot, I said yes. I told Jake I had to work late. He didn't even question it. "No problem, babe," he said. "We'll do dinner another night." His trust in me made me feel even worse, but I pushed the guilt aside and went to meet Ryan. He took me to this little Italian place downtown. It was cozy, intimate, and completely unlike the casual spots we usually went to. I knew something was up. And then, over dessert, he dropped the bomb. "Emily, I want to be with you. For real. No more hiding." I froze. My fork clinked against the plate, and I felt like the whole restaurant was staring at me. "Ryan, I can't just leave Jake," I stammered. "It's not that simple." "Why not?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "You're not happy with him. You've said it yourself. Why stay in something that's making you miserable?" I didn't have an answer. Or maybe I did, but I was too scared to admit it. The truth was, I didn't know what I wanted anymore. Jake was safe, familiar, but Ryan was exciting, unpredictable. I felt torn in two. When I got home that night, Jake was waiting for me. He was sitting on the couch, watching some old movie, and he looked up with a smile when I walked in. "Hey, you," he said. "Long day?" I nodded, avoiding his eyes. "Yeah, super busy." He patted the spot next to him. "Come sit. I missed you." I sat down, but I couldn't relax. My mind was racing, and my heart felt like it was going to beat out of my chest. Jake put his arm around me, and I felt like the worst person in the world. It all came crashing down one night when Jake came home early from a work trip. I wasn't expecting him, and I was at Ryan's place. My phone was on silent, so I didn't see Jake's texts or calls until it was too late. When I finally got home, he was sitting on the couch, looking at me with this look. Like he already knew. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice calm but cold. I froze. My mind raced for an excuse, but nothing came out. I was out, I stammered. "Out where?" he pressed. "I called your office. They said you left hours ago." My heart sank. I couldn't lie anymore. The weight of everything I'd done came crashing down on me, and I broke. "Jake, I'm so sorry." His face fell. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just sat there, silent, like I'd shattered something inside him. And I had. I told him everything. About Ryan. About the texts, the dates, the lies. I cried, begged for forgiveness, but the look in his eyes told me it was too late. He didn't say much. Just nodded, got up, and started packing his things. "Jake, please," I said, following him around the apartment. "We can fix this. I'll end it with Ryan. I'll do whatever it takes." He stopped and turned to me, his eyes filled with a sadness I'll never forget. "Emily, you don't get it. This isn't about Ryan. It's about us. You checked out a long time ago. I just didn't want to see it. I didn't know what to say." He was right. I had checked out. I'd been so focused on what I thought was missing in our relationship that I didn't see what was right in front of me, a man who loved me, who trusted me, who deserved better than this. Jake moved out that night. I haven't heard from Ryan since. I think he got what he wanted and moved on. And me? I'm left picking up the pieces of a life I destroyed.